Before we get started at Bob Shore's Standard Station, let me tell you a few things about the 150th celebration for Silver Lake. Silver Lake's sesquicentennial celebration will be held June 25th and 26th. This two-day event is commemorating the 150 years that this town has been around. Friday, all events will be held at the City Park, 6 to 8 p.m. There is a cornhole tournament and an ice cream social sponsored by the Silver Lake United Methodist Church and the Stock Growers State Bank. A beer garden and food trucks will be set up 7 to 11 p.m. and live music featuring Chance the Encounter from 8 to 11 p.m. Saturday is a fun-filled day with events in different parts of town. 8 a.m. mud volleyball and kickball tournaments are playing at the First Baptist Church. Sign-ups are available at the library at Silver Lake Sesquicentennial Facebook page. The parade starts at 9:30 a.m. It runs down Railroad Street, turns right onto Chestnut, and ends in front of the high school on Lake Street. When the parade is finished, walk over to the grade school for Kid Olympics, inflatables, touch-a-truck activities, dunk takes, petting zoo, and food trucks. These fun events last until 4 p.m. For those of you who would like to spend the day learning about our town's history, drive over to the newly opened Home of the Flint Hills for Heritage Days for a historical movie produced by our high school journalism kids, local speakers, and historical items to view. There will be live music, a cakewalk, carriage rides, and refreshments. 3 to 5 p.m., the Senior Community Center will be holding bingo. Join them for a fun time and some prizes. To round out the night, bring your chairs and blankets to the Silver Lake Public Library and enjoy an outside movie played on the east wall with free popcorn provided by the Silver Lake Baptist Church.
Welcome to the Schwartz Standard Station with your host, Bob Schwartz.
Okay, we're here today with Winnie Brewster. Winnie grew up in Silver Lake. Silver Lake is having their 150th anniversary celebration this year, but Silver Lake actually was founded in 1870, not 1871, but last year they had to cancel the celebration because of the COVID. So we thought we'd have Winnie come down and visit with us today about her family's been in Silver Lake for generations, and thought we'd visit with her about what life was like in Silver Lake in the, I think mostly in the 50s we're going to talk about, because that's when Winnie was in high school, and just kind of get an overview of kind of how the town's changed and her family's connection to the Kaw Valley River bottom down here. What year did Grandpa come to town?
Grandpa was born here in 1894 on December 10th. They were born in a house just north of where the elementary school is right now.
Is that the new elementary school?
Yes,
Or
the new elementary.
So was it the house that burnt down?
Yes, it was.
And that was where your
That's where they were born.
And of course I know where you grew up, catty corner from that.
Right.
Or what I would call catty corner.
Yeah.
And was Grandpa, he was still around when you were?
Now, I grew up on the farm.
You grew up on the farm,
South
okay.
of Silver Lake, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Where Van and Nancy Hawkins live right now.
Okay, straight south of town,
Right.
half a mile.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And your dad farmed down there?
Yes, he did.
And tractor or mules?
Tractor. Well, I remember pairs of horses. Bill and Flossie was their names. But
Bill?
Yeah,
Bill.
and Flossie. Yeah. But yes, I do remember him buying the first Alice Chalmers tractor, which had steel wheels, and just thought he was in heaven when he bought that tractor.
When I was a kid, I used to ask my mom this all the time, because there were all kinds of signs on when you'd hit a paved road coming off gravel, and it'd say tractors with lugs prohibited. And I'd go, Mom, what does that mean? And she goes, well, back when I was a kid, we didn't have tractors. But when we first got tractors, they had metal
wheels
and spikes on, or not spikes, but yeah.
Yeah.
And she goes, they couldn't drive them on the pavement because they'd dig holes in. And And so your dad had an Alice Chalmers that he bought from Topeka? From a dealer, the
Right.
AC dealer in Topeka.
Right.
And he farmed, can you remember how many acres he
80.
farmed? 80 acres.
That farm had 80 acres, right? The river, it bordered the river.
So I think this is something that everybody needs to understand. It's Kansas is emptying. The rural Kansas is getting smaller,
Right,
as we're all
right,
aware.
it is.
You go drive out to communities that you go drive up to Onega, where I grew up at, which
Right.
was a little bigger than Silver Lake
Right.
50 years ago. This year's class, they had 14 kids in their senior class. But one of the towns are getting smaller because the farms are getting bigger.
Bigger, but my dad, Sage and Center, my dad had 30 acres of corn planted there,
That's it. Yeah.
where Sage and Center streets are right now.
Yeah. It was cornfield. Yeah,
It was a cornfield.
I certainly remember that too.
Yeah.
But see, he could raise a family on 80 acres.
Right.
And today, that's
Oh, no.
laughable to
Oh,
think
no.
about. But yeah, my mom, I remember her saying that they lived on 80 acres, her family farm, and there was a farm on every 80 acres, and there was a school every 2 square miles.
Right.
And did you come to town to go to school?
Yes.
You were close enough that you didn't go
Yeah.
to a country school.
Right.
And how big was your grade school class?
I think when I graduated from high school, I think there was like 30 of us or something close to that.
But in grade school, it wasn't that
But
big,
in
was
grade
it?
school, no.
Because you would have had Grove coming in
Right.
and
We had Grove, we had
Cairo.
Wallace.
Wallace.
Yeah, that's down on Lower Silver Lake Road. It's actually a house now, but that's
Yeah, nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, on the north side of the road.
Yeah. That was the old Wallace School. So we had, and there was one out west here of town where somebody lives now also.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what about Cairo? Did they have a school?
No.
So
That was
they either went Seaman or Silver Lake.
Went to that little Wallace School or,
Oh, okay.
or Seaman or Silver Lake if they were in high school.
Okay, so I'm coming to Silver Lake from down Highway 24 from Cairo in 1950. It's paved road, paved all the way into Topeka, paved to Rossville. Okay, so but how about if I want to drive down Lake Street and go by the high school in 1950, or go down that street?
That would be a gravel
Road. So and is that where the high school was?
Yes.
Okay, and I guess because you went to high school, they burn it down? Or tell us about that. What year were you when the school burned down?
I was freshman.
Freshman in high school. And it happened in March
Right.
of 1952.
Right.
So right about the end of your freshman year.
Right.
So right about the time you're done being scared of being a
Yeah,
freshman.
Being a freshman.
And they burned the school down. And did they ever know what caused it?
No. There was all kinds of rumors and beliefs and guesses, but nothing was ever
And the school sat right where the high school sits now. So they knocked it. It was a stone building, right?
Yeah, that's what it looked like right there.
And so they had to do a lot of demolition after it burned down.
Oh yeah.
Well, this shows all the Silver Lake schools from 1868 through 1988, which would have been one of the. I don't know. They were evidently doing something.
They've added on a bunch to both of the schools, a
Yeah.
lot.
1928, a 2-story high school facility was built at a cost of $80 grand, which today's dollars would be, $4 million. It'd be
Yeah,
a lot
3 or
of
4
money.
million.
It'd be a lot of money. So school burns down. They don't in 1952. They wouldn't do that today. They can't tear that down, build a new school by the next September.
No.
Where'd you go to school at the next September?
Different places in town. We went to the Legion Hall. There was typing and shorthand classes there, and to we had a cafeteria building, a separate building from the high school, and it sat just a little east and to the back of the high school. and we had classes, 2 or 3 classes there. We had English and algebra there, typing and shorthand up here at the Legion Hall, and
Shop? Did they have
Yeah,
a shop?
shop.
Shop?
yes, we
okay.
had,
Woodworking and that stuff?
yes, we had.
And that didn't burn down?
No.
Okay.
No,
That
no.
was that kind of the same place it is today, kind of north
It
of
is, it
the
is.
current school?
It
And
is.
FFA was probably in that same
Right.
same building. So I'm just going to go back to when I was in high school. So having school like that really messed up your dating, didn't it?
It
Because
did.
you weren't around the boys all the
No,
time. Yeah,
no.
that would have been terrible.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, at 15, that would have sucked. You know, that would have been terrible because
And
that's
we-
when you got to talk to the girls. Was at your locker.
Yeah, it's in a locker.
And if you didn't have a locker when you were sophomore.
The only time we got to visit was if we had the same class, say, and we had to come from the school grounds up to the Legion Hall.
So I'm going to guess, like in your confirmation class at Silver Lake United Methodist Church was pretty good sized.
Quite a few of us.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. And back then, I'm sure it was this way at your church as it was at mine. That was just as big a deal as getting out of grade
Oh,
school.
yeah.
That was a big deal.
That was a big deal. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you had to jump through some hoops to do
Yeah,
it.
and yeah, all your family came to it.
Yep.
And yeah.
So going back to the school district, football was pretty big
Yeah.
when Winnie was in high school, right?
Yeah.
It's not a 1970 thing on, is it?
No.
It's been huge forever, hasn't it? And Dad graduated in 1915.
Mm-hmm.
And his first name was?
Reuben.
Reuben McCoy. And they were good when he got out of school. And they were good at, surprise, Silver Lake was good at baseball in 1915. And for those of you watching that aren't real familiar with Silver Lake has won a lot of state championships in football, as has the school now 5 miles down the road.
Oh, yeah.
This is a big football area.
Right.
It didn't just become a big football area.
No.
It's been a big football area for over 100
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
And so when you were in high school, well, now we've talked about 1915 a little bit. This gentleman was a lot older than you, but you knew him. You knew Thale Maupin.
Yeah.
And Thale and his brother, I don't know his first name.
There was Thales and Dewey Maupin.
Dewey, okay.
Yeah.
By the way, Thales Maupin, Audrey, his wife,
Right.
my mother taught her.
Is that right?
Yeah. One room school outside Onega. Yeah. But anyway, that was a tremendous football team. It was either Dewey or Thales was a tremendous quarterback, and the other one was a tremendous running back. And I don't think very many people know that. But one of them was an exceptional quarterback.
Yeah.
And I was told that not by the Maupin family, but by gentlemen when I first moved here that could tell those stories.
Thales Maupin was a good athlete. He was probably in my sister Gwen's
Class?
class, or very close to it.
My name is Nikki Womack. I'm the library director at the Silver Lake Public Library. We are getting ready for the 150th celebration of our town, and the library are having a few events put on as well to help celebrate. On the 25th of June, we're having the Shawnee County Rec and Roll van come out, which they'll set up in our parking lot, and they will have games and arts and crafts for kids to play with. There'll be music blaring, and it'll be just kind of like a little block party fun hour for kids to come and play. On Saturday, we will be showing a movie outside at 9 p.m. On the 26th, we'll be showing Madagascar. For anyone who wants to come and watch, they can bring their lawn chairs, you can bring your blankets. And then the Home of the Flint Hills has donated popcorn, so anyone who comes gets some free popcorn too. First come, first serve. We will also be earlier in the day over at the Home of the Flint Hills, setting up for selling our Silver Lake history books that we have. There'll be $5 for anyone who wants to have one. And we'll also we'll have a booth out for our East and West Wall fundraiser. So come out and support us and come out and have some fun.
You can remember the end of the war, but the beginning of the wars, you don't remember?
I don't remember that.
Do you remember the end of the war or anything? Probably not.
It wasn't that important to me.
How about Korea?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because you were in high school then.
Yeah.
So there were seniors going off into the military
Right.
soon,
Yes.
soon
Yeah.
you know, like your freshman,
Yeah.
sophomore, and
Yes.
junior year.
Especially out of Maryland, my next oldest sister, out of Maryland's class, there was a lot of guys that graduated that went right on into the military then. That would have been 1950.
Yeah, 50, 51, 52. I think most all those guys.
They did.
And you can come up to Vietnam, 65, 66, 67. Those 3 years of classes, you know, like
Yeah.
they were all, I was like you, I was a freshman, you know, when those, or an 8th grader, and I mean, you know, that they'd all be there. High school guys would be at church on
Right.
Sunday, and then as soon as they graduated,
Yeah.
they were all gone.
They were gone,
Yeah. Didn't go to college. They went straight in the military.
Yeah.
It's I think that's very interesting. It's an anomaly, but it's a fact of life that when there is something like that, it's the young men that get
It's
taken.
the young men.
Yeah. And of course, like they've always said, if they could make old men fight wars, we would never have any.
Wouldn't have any.
Yeah. We'd all have to go to the restroom. We'd have to have a break when we were in there. So 1954, so we've talked about football. And so when you're in school, there's Krugers here. And I mean, Don Kruger and his older brothers, they were a little bit ahead of you.
They were ahead of me.
But they were and I'm going to guess, just given that name, I'm going to guess they were fair athletes.
Oh, yeah.
When you were
Oh,
a
yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Watched. And then when you were in high school, was football good?
Yes.
Basketball was good?
Yes.
They have girls basketball?
No.
Never in your
Never
career?
in my life did they have any girls sport,
Okay.
or never in my life at high
Yeah,
school
yeah.
did they have any girls sports.
And did, so who's on the basketball team? that you
Jim
can-
Golden,
Oh my. What year did Jim graduate?
me.
Okay,
Yeah,
54.
yeah.
Well, yeah, you guys were pretty good. Yeah. Jim Golden pitched for
The Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Oh, I remember my mom having me listen to a scratchy radio one night when, was it the Houston Colts?
Probably.
He pitched he pitched a shutout against the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he either beat Drysdale or Koufax. I mean, that's big.
I was
I mean,
big.
we
That was
listened to that. I
big.
can remember sitting in the kitchen listening because this Jim Golden guy was from Silver Lake, and
Neat guy, and still is.
well, a neat story about that. Spin forward, and I played basketball at the Y for a long time. When I moved here, I just started playing basketball every day at the Y. Well, got where there was a game up at the North Y, and the game was on Tuesdays, and that was a couple miles easier to get into. And we played at lunch, and I go there, and there's an old man. You know, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I was old when I got there because I was like 33 or 34. And by now I'm probably 38. And all the guys I'm playing with are 20 to 25.
Yeah, right.
And this was actually a group of all guys that had played in college or had performed at a pretty high level. It was a good game. And there's an old guy there. There's a guy there appreciably older than me. And I go, somebody, and he was amazing. And I asked somebody, I said, who is that? I go, well, that's Jim Golden. And I said, I know who that is. And oh, yeah. And you know how quiet he is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he did not like me saying, you know, how I'd listen to him pitch. And, what a nice guy. And then we played in a golf tournament against each other. I don't know if you remember Troy Hemphill. But Troy and I played together in a two-man, and we're with Jim and another one of Jim's buddies who are about his age, and they kicked our butt.
I bet they did.
Oh, they just kicked our butt.
I bet they did.
And he should have been playing against a couple of young Krugers because that's how good he was. So Jim was in your class. Well, one of my college basketball coaches was in your class then. Galen Moat.
Moat.
Was
Sure.
Galen in your class?
You're younger.
You're younger. But he was a good athlete
Oh,
too,
yes,
wasn't
he was. Yes, he was.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Silver Lake was really dominant in the Golden and Galen Moat and Blankenship. Red Blankenship was pretty darn good.
And I presume Rossville sucked all during that period, right?
Yeah,
We beat
They
them
did.
every time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Somebody told me this the other day. I was talking with, who was I talking with? It was just yesterday. Oh, I was out in Victoria at my office and I was visiting with a client that grew up in Stockton.
Oh, yeah.
And so here's Hayes, and then right north of Hayes, about
I
where
know
Jody
where
lives,
yeah.
is Plainville,
Right.
and then north.
Then Stockton.
Yeah, then Stockton. And this guy lives in between. He lives by the golf course, and I asked him several Stockton names, and he goes, "I really don't know anybody from Stockton." And I said, "You don't?" I said, "I think you would." And he said, "When I was in school, we didn't go to Stockton, and they didn't come to Plainville." And that was Onega Frankfurt when I was a kid.
Right.
You didn't go to a dance that was a Frankfurt dance because there was going to be a fight.
Yeah.
And he said that Plainville and Stockton was that way. They just did not get together, which I find kind of funny because Silver Lake and Rossville compete. I mean, they want to.
Oh, yeah.
They want to beat each other.
Want to beat.
But
They're
everybody's
good.
friends.
They're good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Silver Lake girls and guys. The
Yeah.
Girls have married Rossville guys,
Yeah.
and Silver Lake
Yeah.
guys have married Rossville girls. But
And even during school, they're good friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was it that
Sure.
way when you were at school, or did 5 miles away? That you probably didn't go over there much, did you?
Yeah, we went over there and they were okay.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah.
You don't come
Yeah.
into town type thing.
Right.
Yeah. I found that kind of amazing about Plainville and Stockton because they are as close as Rossville. I mean, they're not 5 miles, but they're out for Western
about
Kansas
15
distance.
miles, I
Yeah,
would think.
but in Western Kansas, that's next. I mean,
Yeah, right.
That's like
right,
Cairo.
Right.
From here. All the side streets in Silver Lake were gravel. Where was the post office when you were a kid?
It was on the corner where the bar is right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Down on the curve. Oh, really?
That was the old post office.
Where the Mexican restaurant is. Oh, really?
No, right here on Main Street.
Oh, at where the blacksmith hall is.
More right. I couldn't think.
Okay. Well, it's a bar. I mean, it
Yeah,
can be
it
a
is a
bar.
bar. Yeah. Yeah, that's
the
what-
post office was on the corner. I'll be darned. See, I should remember that because I'm sure the once a year when we went to Wild Willie's to buy me a pair of jeans. Did you ever shop at Wild
Oh
Willie's?
yes. Oh yes.
That was the first Walmart, wasn't
Yeah.
it? I mean,
It
wasn't a Walmart, but it was that same kind of thing. If I remember right, you just walked in and stuff
Yeah.
was stacked everywhere.
Yeah, and it's Wild Willie's was where there's a drugstore now. I think maybe a Walgreens drugstore.
And then it became a bookstore.
Bookstore,
They
yeah.
binded books,
Yeah.
bound books
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
The Wild Willie's, they had that great sign.
Oh yeah.
And the advertisement on TV, they'd go shooting a gun. Yeah. And North Topeka was bustling. When you were, and is that where you went to shop? Like if,
Yeah.
if you guys went to
Yeah.
Topeka to shop,
Yeah.
went to North
Yeah.
Topeka. And isn't it amazing how that went away and how it's come back?
Let's come back.
Yeah.
Mom used to take eggs to the to sell at just right on the other end of the bridge, going over. Of course, that bridge isn't there anymore.
But the North
Yeah.
Topeka Bridge. And they so on the south side of it or the north side?
South side of it.
So and that bridge went straight from downtown, right? Like
Yeah,
down,
just
North
go right,
Topeka
yeah.
went right into the.
Right into South Topeka then, yeah.
And was it a creamery? Is that what they
Yeah,
called the
it
place?
was a creamery.
I used to next door to my dad's gas station was the creamery in Onega, and I don't know why they were called that because they never had any cream. I mean, that's obviously it was from days before that, but that's where everybody took their eggs. And Mr. Colderman had one of those little things that you could look and see if there were, what was that, what they call it, candling?
Yeah.
Candling the eggs.
Yeah.
And he would sit in there and candle the eggs. I thought that was so darn cool.
Now, Mom used to bring the cans of cream, the 5-gallon cans of cream, to sell up to the railroad depot that we used to have, behind where the city building is now. There used to be a depot there, and the train stopped there. You could catch the train right here in Silver Lake.
Yeah, and my mother grew up in a little town called Wheaton, Kansas.
Yeah.
And she would catch the train on Monday morning and take it into Onega to go to school. And she would board. She would stay, and on Friday night she'd take the train. They didn't call it a train; they called it the motor. But she'd take the train back to Wheaton. And the only time she'd ever been to Topeka in her life before, let's see, she got married in 1934. Before that, the only time she'd ever been to Topeka was on trains.
Is that right?
And she said that train would stop at Aiken Switch, Emmett, St. Mary's,
Sure.
Rossville, Silver
Yeah,
Lake,
right.
Cairo, and
Yeah.
and that was it didn't get any bigger than that. That was and I don't think that happened more than 4 times in her life.
I'll be
But
done.
did you ever jump on the train to go to Topeka?
Yeah, we went on the train.
I wonder what that cost. I mean, I wonder if it was quarter.
I went when my oldest sister was living in St. Louis. I took the train. I was probably 12 years old. Mom finally decided, okay,
Yeah,
I'll
you
let
can
her
go.
do it. And got on here in Topeka, and I think it was like $7 or $8
to go to St. Louis.
for a ticket to go to St. Louis.
So you probably could have got on and went to North of Topeka for
Yeah.
50 cents or something.
Yeah.
Just, I'll be darned. Yeah.
I took Pat and Lori when they were little to Kansas City, just so they could say they had ridden on a train. And of course, Gene picked us up in Kansas City. He beat us there.
At Union
actually.
Station. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
actually beat us there.
The name of this show is a nod to the standard station that Bob's father owned, where many friendly debates were had and deals were done. Bob has many fond memories of traveling through rural northeast Kansas, delivering fuel to farmers, and learning what makes each small town unique in history, and continuing those journeys of service to these special towns is still one of Bob's favorite perks. Share your personal story and hopes for the future with us. Visit us at bobschwartzfinancial.com.
Let's talk a little bit about, there's been 5 generations of McCoy's, of your grandfather McCoy's
Right.
heirs, because
Right.
they're the McCoy were all girls on your
Yes,
part of the tribe,
we
so
were all girls.
last names changed. But 5 generations of kids graduated from Silver Lake. I think that's one of the coolest things that.
Well, they haven't graduated yet.
Yeah.
The 5th generation is about to
Yeah.
happen.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about this a little bit. Yeah. So, your son Patrick, Lori worked here for a number of years. She retired from here after she had retired from a career at Hills, right? By the way, you and Gene both retired. You were on the administrative side at Goodyear. Gene was a
He was
union man.
union man.
At, and that's what I wanted to talk about for a minute. Goodyear come in 1945? Or do you know for sure?
It's either 44 or 45.
And Goodyear is such an integral part of the growth of this little community,
Oh
isn't
yeah. Oh yes.
it? And
Oh yes.
let's talk about that a little bit. So the first time I ever came to your home, you didn't do this, but you told me a story about the pride of Goodyear and how, I can't remember how the story went, but that you went out and looked at the tires on the guy's car before you bought something from him, because if he didn't have American, I don't think it was, I don't think it had to be Goodyear, but I think they had to be American-made tires or something. Is that right?
They frowned if they found any other brand of tires. on
Okay.
your car.
Yeah,
If they
so-
were paying you and you were buying other tires, they frowned on it.
Well, and you guys got pretty good deals on them.
We did.
Yeah.
We got rebates on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I remember Dwayne Stites one time came to my house and said, I didn't have very much, and he came and said, "Hey, do you need new tires or anything?" I go, "Why?" He goes, "Well, I got 2 left on my," and so I went and got 2 tires, and they were like
Yeah.
free compared to what
Yeah.
what it was.
Right.
When I moved here in 1983, which was right after they'd had a tough time. I remember, was it like 1981 when Goodyear had the big layoff?
Let's see, we had a strike in '79, and they had a layoff shortly after that. I don't remember the year.
It got a lot of the guys.
Yeah, it did.
Danny Haverkamp.
Yeah,
yeah. He ended up being a butcher. I had a lot of friends my age, guys from Onega that were at Goodyear that got laid off for a number of years.
Gene never did get laid off.
Yeah, I think it was basically the guys my age and younger that kind of got hit with that one. But when I moved here, even though they'd had that layoff, the number of cars that would leave town at 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Going into work.
Yeah.
And coming to see them at 11 o'clock at night coming home.
Coming home.
This was I would say, probably from 1960 on was a Goodyear town. The great majority of this town either made a living off of Goodyear people buying their groceries, etc., or from Goodyear.
Yeah, yeah.
Today, I'm going to guess the state of Kansas, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah. Gene started there in '57.
So, see, I thought you and Gene probably met over here, but you met in Kansas City.
We met in Kansas City.
So you got Gene.
He started there in '58.
58.
Yeah.
So, when did you start at Goodyear?
In '60.
So you were right behind him. And you worked with Merv Martin.
Yes.
A friend of mine and a acquaintance or probably a friend of yours. You either had to be his friend or you hated him.
There was
no in
Merv.
between with Merv.
He was the first one that sold us some investments.
Insurance, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Merv's boys are still great friends of mine.
Yeah.
I just talked to Brad, his youngest one, last week.
His wife's gone now too, isn't she?
Yeah, they're both gone.
Yeah.
And
Gloria, was that her?
Gloria,
name?
yeah. I got a good story about Merv. Merv was hiring when I went to Washburn in 1969. Merv did not all the hiring, but Merv was the hiring dude.
Yeah.
And so the story was, and of course Tom was a good friend of mine, and Tom was going to work there in the summer. And the word was, if you went and applied at Goodyear, you could. They had that back then. They hired summer relief.
Summer relief, yeah.
And
so
I go cakewalking in there and take the test and all that, and an African American gentleman interviewed me. I know you know him, but I can't remember his name. But anyway, he was kind of a gruff guy, and he goes, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I would like to get a summer job and work here." And he said, "Well, Mr. Martin wants to visit with you." And I'm like, "Oh boy," because old Merv's going to call me in here and he's going to say, "Here you go, buddy.
Here you go.
You start tonight." And I'd already known several guys from Onega that had gotten summer jobs, and guys I knew at Washburn that from Rossville and St. Mary's, Silver Lake, gotten summer jobs. And I go in and sit down, and he leans across the table and he goes, "Bobby?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I ain't hiring you." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "If I hire you, you'll quit school." Because he says, "I know you. And you'll start making money, and you'll quit school, and you'll be working here all the time, and you'll never graduate, and your dad will kill me. And I'm not hiring you." And I was devastated because they were making $5 an hour, and I was making $1.80 at Sears, and all my buddies were making $5 an hour. Or $5.48 or something. It was unbelievable. And I was making $1.80 at Sears. It was the best advice.
I'm sure it was.
I'd have quit college, because that money. And not the Goodyear would have been a great career.
Oh yeah.
I would have. I think I would have flourished there.
Yeah.
But I think in hindsight, I wouldn't have been working at 70. I wouldn't have been feeling,
No.
I would have been ready to
Probably not,
retire
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
So I want to talk about the generations a little bit as we talked about sports. And so I'm not talking about any of your, but I am picking and choosing here. But Patrick, your son, graduated in '76, just retired from a career in education. Played football, I believe, at Worcester.
He
correct?
did. He did.
And then down the next generation, Lori, who we've mentioned, her son Rick, I believe, played football at Emporia State.
Emporia State, right.
And then if I come down here a little bit further, I see a young lady by the name of Haley, who is a freshman at Silver Lake this year, and was one of the 5 freshmen that started on the softball team that took second at state, got beat 1-0. And she also placed, I might miss this, either 3rd or 5th at state wrestling. I'm going to miss. Did I miss it?
Played
4th.
fourth.
Well, I was
Placed
right.
4th. You were
I
right.
said 3rd or 5th. And
Yeah.
as a freshman.
Yeah. As
Pretty
a freshman.
cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
She's a
So not only 5 generations, but 5 generations
Yeah.
that I easily could set and pick out. Other than you 4 girls
Yeah.
that went to Silver Lake. How come you?
There wasn't any.
Oh, okay.
Remember
Did Silver
that?
Lake even have track when you were in high
No.
school? Because it's all baseball, right?
Baseball and basketball
And football.
and football.
I'm going to tell you a story that I think epitomizes Silver Lake, Kansas. So one time I'm playing golf with Mark Elliott, and Ronnie Martinick is a tremendous golfer.
Good.
Billy Childs is a tremendous
Is
golfer.
he? I don't know
he's
much
tremendous.
about Billy.
He's tremendous.
Is that right?
Oh, he's good as Ronnie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and Ronnie's really good.
Yeah, he is.
And then Mark Elliott. And I said to Mark, we were playing golf, and I said, gosh, don't you wish Silver Lake would have had golf when you were in high school? Because you and Ronnie and
Yeah.
Billy, and that would have been takes 4 to, but those 3 and me could have won a state championship. I mean, that they would have been that good. And Mark said, no, we play baseball at Silver Lake.
Yeah. And he was good. He was a good pitcher, left-handed.
Well, he got drafted.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
3rd round,
Yeah.
I think, something
Yeah.
like that. And Marion McDonald at Washburn
Right.
said he was the best natural hitter
Yeah.
that he'd ever seen. I never watched Mark play baseball, but
He was good.
Alan Cunningham, Pat, Mark,
Yeah.
Mike Kruger, Bill Childs were pretty much inseparable in the summers.
They were.
And they were either playing basketball,
Yeah,
baseball,
or something.
throwing something,
Yeah.
hitting something,
Yeah.
hitting each other.
Yeah, each other more.
Yeah, and you don't see the kids playing basketball outside like you used to.
No.
Used to be. I always said this in high school: you could not drive through Silver Lake without seeing somebody shooting baskets.
2 or 3 people
Yeah.
out shooting baskets.
And those days that's kind of changed because they can get in the gyms now,
Yeah.
and
They
and-
have summer workouts all
yeah,
summer
yeah.
now.
Who ever heard of that when we were kids? Yeah, they
Not me.
and
Yeah.
I come to work usually between 6 and 6:30 every morning. It's amazing.
The parking
Yeah.
lot's full
Yeah.
probably.
And
Yeah.
I tell my Onega friends all the time, all right, you live down there in Silver Lake, and the only thing that matters down there is sports. Well,
No,
that's BS.
really?
The
Yeah.
Silver Lake
Yeah.
they perform at a high level.
They
But
do.
if they want to know why Silver Lake is good every year, the first thing they have to do is look at our coach.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. But the second thing is look at the commitment of the families and the kids in this
Families,
community.
yeah.
Because you drive by at 6 a.m. and that parking lot's full.
It is.
And there's kids lifting
It
weights and
Running and whatever.
And when Rossville got better was when they
Was
started
when they
doing
started
that.
doing that.
Yeah, and it's the proof's in the pudding. If you put in the time, you're probably going to get
You're gonna
rewarded
be
for
okay.
it. And if you don't,
Right.
you
aren't going to make the team.
And I love Silver Lake's attitude about that. You don't have to come and lift. We don't care.
Right.
You know, but you don't have to play.
Right.
You know,
That's right. That's basically right.
I mean, there's nobody's going to get mad at you or anything.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's you know it's how it works out.
Rick's daughter just works out continually.
When they moved in, they live across the street for
Yeah.
folks watching for me. And when they moved in, I don't know how many hours I've watched. You know, I'd get in my car, go somewhere, go do something. Haley's out hitting a ball on a tee. You know, 14 years old. I mean, yeah, you know, you'll see 8-year-olds doing that, but not, you know. And she's, yeah.
She had 7 home runs this season.
Isn't that amazing? And a freshman, and they had and she catches, and we had a freshman pitcher, freshman first baseman, freshman second baseman,
Yep.
and outfielder,
Yep.
and they're going to have a good run.
Before we get back to the conversation, there's something you should know about Bob. Bob likes to go fast. When he picks a destination, he chooses the fast lane for his trips and financial success. Bob is gaining on 45 years of experience, and he wants you to join him on this high-speed journey to success. Through these conversations, Bob wants you to learn to minimize speed bumps, not get pulled over or break down. And because you're making good time, you can start to enjoy the scenic routes. If you'd like to get a tune-up or fill up on the future, visit our website at bobschwartzfinancial.com.
So your dad was a twin. I think that's pretty neat. Age 1.5, 1895, and that's other than it's, you know, some little kid somewhere along the way scratched it. That's really a good picture. And where did your dad's twin sister end up?
Here, Ruth Mahan.
Mahon? Mahon. M-A-H-O-N. I'll be darned. How many first cousins did you have then? How many children did she have?
Just one.
Just one. And a lot older than you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you
older
never
than
really...
I believe he was older than my oldest sister, Vernon Mahan. He was a career Navy man, an officer, and died from kidney failure while he was in the Navy. He is buried out at Fort Rosecrans.
You still have your dad's
Diploma.
and the program, and this was the commencement. I bet they had a baccalaureate too.
I couldn't find anything on a baccalaureate.
Well, it's at the ME Church. It's at the Methodist Church. They had commencement at the church. And what happened to that church, interestingly enough? Burnt down, right? So school burnt down and the
Church burnt
burnt down.
The story behind the church burning down, do you remember when there was a ship on a lake down south that sank?
Yeah. The Willow, on Lake Pomona.
Pomona.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. The minister at the time owned that boat.
He owned that boat?
And the story had it, we don't know this, that one of the men who survived, but his wife did not,
Burnt.
burn it down.
The whippoorwill. The whippoorwill.
That was the name of the boat, yeah, the whippoorwill.
I'll be darned. And his widow, the minister at that time's widow, came to church out here, lived in Topeka, but came to church here for a number of years. Is she gone now? Or
No, she's still alive.
Still alive? She's in her 90s, surely.
Yes,
isn't
she is.
Yeah. So, and that was a terrible blaze.
That was.
Yeah.
That was.
And that was a pretty church. Not that the new church isn't pretty, but the new church isn't as pretty as the old one.
No, it is not. It is not.
I did not know that story about that the boat. Did not know that. See,
was-
there's
That was what we got from church, was that. That probably had something to do with it.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to get a couple more things. That'll make sure I don't want to miss anything. Silver Lake Public Schools, 8th grade graduation, 19 to 11. The 12 girls did the flower drill. 12 girls must have been the girls in the 8th grade and the girls in the 7th grade. Mm-hmm. What you think? Mm-hmm. Instrumental duet, Miss McCoy and Miss Chrisman. So that would have been your aunt.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Miss Philbin did a vocal solo. There's some Rickenbackers here. Miss Rickenbacker sang a solo at their commencement in 1915, and Miss Reichherder did a reading.
Richter? Richter. That's Richter.
Instrumental duet. This was Adolphus Thomas did a reading. I'm going to guess that's one of these Thomases.
It's their dad.
Is that right?
Yes.
There's a name that's been around,
Been around
probably
a long
as
time.
long as the McCoy
Yeah,
name.
been around a long time.
And
I think Dad was a year or two older than Dolph, but Dolph and Mabel Thomas and Mom and Dad and some of them played either bridge or pitch at least once a week.
now, there's another instrumental duet by Miss Coulter and Miss Howe, and then there's another vocal solo by Miss McCoy. So evidently, Aunt could sing and play an instrument.
She could.
And Dad ran and shot baskets and played football. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It sounds like a typical brother and sister. That's pretty cool.
Yes, she was. I have her grand piano.
Is that grand
was
piano
hers.
that you have was hers? That's pretty cool. You had a hell of a freshman year, because the flood was the summer of right before you went to high school, and then the school burns in March. Holy cow!
Yes, it was this one thing after
Well, let's
another.
cover the flood a little bit. It left most of your dad's ground non-tillable for a number of years, I'm guessing.
It came down from Rossville, the water did.
Rossville.
Yeah. And the road that went east and west past our house was supposedly a dike also.
Yeah.
We had floodgates down there.
Right. Same ones that are there now.
Yeah, but I doubt if they work anymore. Probably nobody ever does anything. Anyway, the water came up over that dike and just undermined everything. We could hear our barn fall up here in town. It just went underneath it, and it was a huge 3-story barn and just collapsed into the water. Took all of our sheds, implement sheds, the hog sheds, everything.
First of all, did your parents have insurance?
No, you didn't have flood insurance.
I was going to say people didn't have,
Yeah.
Was there any government help after
No.
that? None.
No, it devastated my mom and dad.
Oh, yeah.
All that was left was the house.
The house made it. Everything else was gone.
Everything else was gone.
And you can see there, I go out there and walk, and when you west of the house, there's a low,
Yeah.
they've kind of got a little, somebody's put like a swing down there or something, Hawkins did.
And that used to be all level.
All the way through there. Now
All the way
washed that
through
down
there.
out of
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, even with the driveway and everything, yeah.
Now, when the flood of '93 happened, I can't remember who told me this, but it was somebody that was, I don't know if it was Ken Lilly or it was somebody older than Ken, but they told me that the water made it just to the edge of town.
Edge of town.
And never got into town.
Never came in.
Just to the edge of town. How did they know to put? How did the people that put towns in?
Yeah.
And they're not doing it with any GPS or any elevations. How did they know that? How did they
I
know?
don't
Hey,
know.
we can probably put a house here, a town here.
I don't know, yeah.
Because 93, you know, they had us, we were going to be underwater.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Gene was ill. He had a staph infection in one of his legs, and he had a nurse coming every day to see him. And they're telling us we're going to be underwater. And one of his Goodyear buddies came down to see him because he'd been off work for several days. And I just mentioned to him, I said, I don't know if I'm going to get out of this or not. And he said, I'll bring my horse trailer down and haul you out of here right now, anything you want. And I said, well, you know, give me the rest of today to make that decision. Yeah.
We took everything out of our basement. We got, you know, they told us to clear our house out, and I told Deb, I said, if it gets up that high, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
but
matter.
let's clean out the basement, you know.
Yeah.
And the boys came in and we did that, and you know, there was a lot of panic.
It was panic. Yeah.
I was school board president at that time,
Yes.
and what it helped me realize as a young man, I didn't think I was young then, but as a barely 40-year-old man,
Looks
it made
young
me
then.
realize that I could perform under pressure.
Right.
Because I had neighbors that were absolutely freaking.
Yeah.
You know, sandbagging around their houses, and I told Deb at that time, I said, if it floods here, you know, that we got a heck of a lot more problems than our house flood. I mean, if it would have gotten here.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear. This is for you.
Okay.
We appreciate you so much.
Well,
We've been friends for a long time.
Long time.
You and Jean have been, as I call you, friends of this business for many, many years, and
I hope we are.
well, I know you're not
Many
going
more.
anywhere. Like I told you earlier, I know you're not going anywhere. I hope I'm not, you know. But I told you when I was 40, you'd outlast me. So I'm still going to stand by that. But I plan on living to about 100. So
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. Well, I plan on living to. A friend of mine used to say this that I worked with early in my career. He said, "I'm going to live to 105 and get shot by a jealous husband." That's how we'll end that up, Charlotte.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk to everybody later.
Do you have a favorite small town fact or questions for us regarding this episode? Reach out by emailing Bob or call one of our Kansas offices in Silver Lake or Victoria. Visit our website at bobschwartzfinancial.com.